The next morning, in the president's office of the Nicholson Corporation, Dahlia was sipping a cup of coffee as she went through sheets of financial statements. Just then, someone knocked on her door. "Come in." Dahlia put her cup down. "You called for me, Ms. Nicholson?" Dustin pushed the door open and entered. As chief security officer, he needed to check in at the company every day. "Where were you last night? I couldn't reach you on the phone." Dahlia probed just as he stepped in. "My friend got into some trouble, so I went to help out." Dustin grinned sheepishly. "Your friend? It isn't Natasha Harmon, is it?" Dahlia's brow rose in suspicion. "No wonder you were so enthusiastic. It turns out you were on a date with a chick." Dustin cleared his throat and quickly changed the subject before Dahlia became jealous. "You didn't call me over just to talk about this, did you, Ms. Nicholson? As if I'm that bored." Dahlia retorted and rolled her eyes. "An important client is arriving later, and we have to serve her well. Make sure you take care of all matters related to security." "No problem." Dustin nodded. "It's almost time for us to meet at the cafe downstairs. Let's go." Dahlia glanced at her watch before grabbing her purse and walking out of the room. Dustin quickly followed suit. The two of them went downstairs and walked into the cafe next door. As soon as they sat down, a bright red Ferrari slowly pulled up to the entrance. The door swung open, and a woman in a red bodycon dress stepped out. Her vibrant scarlet lips, beautiful face, and voluptuous figure were striking, and her long, smooth legs seemed to go on for miles, and her black, sheer pantyhoses only made her more alluring than ever. "She's here." Dahlia sprung up as soon as the woman walked into the shop. Dahlia extended her hand with a kind smile. "Hello, Ms. Larson. I'm Dahlia Nicholson. Nice to meet you. I didn't think that Nicholson Corporation's new president would be a woman." "How interesting." Ms. Larson removed her sunglasses, revealing her surprised expression. "You flatter me, miss. Please take a seat." Dahlia gestured to the seat beside her. "And who might this handsome man be?" Ms. Larson gave Dustin a flirty smile as she scanned him from head to toe. "This is our chief security officer, Dustin Rhys. He's responsible for our security," Dahlia introduced. "My safety is in your hands now, Mr. Rhys." Ms. Larson reached out a hand for Dustin to shake. "It's my duty." Dustin smiled softly and shook her outstretched hand. "You seem familiar, Ms. Larson. Have we met before?" Dustin just couldn't shake off the feeling that they knew each other. Ms. Larson giggled. "Your flirting skills still need some work, Mr. Rhys. It's too old-fashioned." "Dustin." Dahlia glared, annoyed. How could he flirt with her client in front of her? "I must have mistaken you for someone else." Dustin smiled apologetically. "I'm so sorry, Ms. Larden. He's very inexperienced. Please forgive him." Dahlia apologized, embarrassed. "It's all right. I understand. Men are always like that." Ms. Larson smirked teasingly, slowly crossing her sexy legs elegantly. "Let's get down to business, Ms. Larson." Dahlia quickly changed the topic. "I suggest building a casino on the newly developed land. Please take a look at my proposal." She handed a document to Ms. Larson. "Let me see." Ms. Larson accepted the document and began looking through it, but for some reason, she kept peeking at Dustin. Ms. Larson's gaze was lustful as she peeked at Dustin, who met her eyes calmly. He was still racking his brain, trying to recall where he had seen her before. "Stop looking." Dahlia quickly realized what was amiss and gave Dustin a warning kick. This was the second time. Dustin had grown bolder during the past few days since he was gone and didn't even bother being discreet anymore. "Ms. Nicholson, I don't understand these parts. Can you explain them to me?" Ms. Larson placed the document on the table and pointed at a section of the contract. "Sure, let me explain." With a professional smile, Dahlia began explaining everything in detail to Ms. Larden, who wasn't actually listening. Ms. Larson silently slipped off one of her heels and brushed her feet against Dustin's shoe lightly. "What?" Dustin raised an eyebrow, puzzled. When he lifted his head, he was met with Ms. Larson's teasing and flirty smile. He merely drew his eyes away and pretended to see nothing. Ms. Larson smirked and took a sip of her coffee before slowly brushing her feet upwards, caressing Dustin from his foot to his thigh, making the man jerk and his breathing quicken. What on earth is she doing? How could she do something like this in broad daylight? She's too bold, Dustin exclaimed to himself. He inhaled deeply and pulled his leg away, pretending nothing happened. However, this only encouraged the woman to become bolder. She placed her entire foot on Dustin's thigh and rubbed back and forth invitingly. Dustin immediately frowned and shot her a warning glare. In response, Ms. Larson flashed him a coquettish smile and extended her tongue to sensually lick the coffee off the corner of her lips. Her movements were undoubtedly alluring. Once again, Dustin pulled his leg away to put some distance between them. However, Ms. Larson continued to pester him. Unable to take it anymore, he grabbed her foot and squeezed it warningly. "Oh," she moaned, shooting Dustin a sulking look. "What's wrong, Ms. Larson? Are you feeling unwell?" Dahlia caught Ms. Larson's change in expression and asked. Dustin thought Ms. Larson would make up an excuse. However, the woman suddenly lifted the tablecloth and pointed at her foot. "Mr. Rhys is hurting me." Dustin stiffened instantly. What? Dahlia looked down instinctively to see Dustin grabbing onto Ms. Larson's foot tightly, painting quite a raunchy scene. "I didn't do anything." Flabbergasted, Dustin quickly let go of Ms. Larson, looking guilty. He didn't expect Ms. Larson to be so bold and to play the victim. "Dustin, Rhys." Dahlia, whose face was red with anger, seethed through gritted teeth, her expression murderous.